Colonialism. It's a word that echoes through history. For centuries, European powers swept across Asia and Africa. They were driven by greed, convinced of their own superiority. They carved up these continents, claiming land and resources as their own. But it wasn't just about land, it was about control. To maintain their grip on power, colonial rulers employed a cunning strategy. They installed local leaders. These leaders, often chosen for their loyalty rather than their competence, became puppets. They danced to the tune of their colonial masters. This system, designed to serve the interests of the colonizers, had devastating consequences for the colonized. These consequences continue to reverberate today. From crippled economies to political instability, the legacy of colonialism continues to cast a long shadow over the developing world. Understanding this legacy is crucial to comprehending the challenges faced by many nations in Asia and Africa. It's a history that's uncomfortable but essential to confront. The strategy of installing puppet leaders was central to the colonial playbook. By propping up local figureheads, colonial powers created a facade of local rule. This allowed them to maintain control while minimizing the appearance of direct foreign domination. But who were these chosen puppets? Often they were individuals who were easily manipulated. They might have been from elite families already accustomed to privilege and power. Or they might have been individuals who were particularly pliable, eager to please their colonial overlords. These puppet leaders were given just enough power to maintain order. They enforced colonial laws, collected taxes, and often brutally suppressed any dissent. In return, they enjoyed the trappings of power. They lived in luxury, often at the expense of their own people. This created a system of patronage and corruption that would have lasting consequences. Colonial powers often employed the tactic of divide and rule. They exploited existing ethnic, religious, or cultural divisions within societies. This strategy served to weaken resistance and solidify their own control. One of the most devastating examples of this tactic was the partition of India in 1947. As the British Empire crumbled, they hastily divided the Indian subcontinent into India and Pakistan. This partition, drawn along religious lines, led to one of the largest mass migrations in human history. Millions of people were displaced and violence erupted along the newly created borders. The legacy of this partition continues to haunt the region. India and Pakistan have fought multiple wars. The region remains mired in conflict and mistrust. The partition of India stands as a stark reminder of the human cost of colonial manipulation. Section 4, the chains of corruption, from colonial rule to endemic graft. Colonialism didn't just disappear overnight, it left behind a legacy of corruption that continues to plague many former colonies. The systems of governance put in place by colonial powers were often designed to extract wealth. They were not designed to serve the people. This created a culture of corruption. Bribery, nepotism, and embezzlement became entrenched. The lines between personal gain and the public good became blurred. This culture of corruption has proven difficult to eradicate. It undermines the rule of law, discourages foreign investment, and perpetuates poverty. It's a vicious cycle. Corruption thrives in environments where institutions are weak and accountability is lacking. This is the toxic legacy that colonialism left behind. Section 5, the Western siphon, cheap labor, and the brain drain. Colonial powers viewed their colonies as sources of cheap labor and raw materials. They exploited these resources to fuel their own industrial revolutions. This exploitation left a legacy of economic underdevelopment. One aspect of this legacy is the brain drain. Many of the brightest minds from former colonies continue to emigrate to the West in search of better opportunities. This robs developing countries of their most valuable asset, their people. This brain drain perpetuates the cycle of underdevelopment. It makes it even harder for former colonies to build their own economies and institutions. Meanwhile, Western countries continue to benefit. They gain a highly skilled workforce, often at a fraction of the cost. It's a system that perpetuates global inequality. Section 6. The struggle continues, navigating the ghosts of colonialism. The legacy of colonialism is not just a historical footnote, it's a lived reality for millions of people around the world. Former colonies continue to grapple with the ghosts of their past. They struggle to build just and equitable societies in the shadow of this legacy. But there is hope. Across the globe, people are rising to the challenge. They are demanding better governance, fighting corruption, and working to create a more just and equitable world. The path ahead is not easy. The legacy of colonialism is deeply entrenched. But by confronting this legacy head-on, by acknowledging the injustices of the past, and by working together, it is possible to build a better future. A future where every nation, regardless of its history, has the opportunity to thrive.